Hello, this is Boston Mayor Marty Walsh. This year marks the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. The day it passed the Senate, Senator Ted Kennedy called the ADA a major milestone in our nation's history. And President George H.W. Bush called it a declaration of independence for millions of Americans. This historic civil rights law moved our country forward, and it set a precedent of inclusion and empowerment in all aspects of American life. While the ADA has improved access in many ways, there's still much more work to be done. Over the last few years, the federal government has threatened the rights of people with disabilities. Efforts to repeal the Affordable Care Act and changes to the public charge rule, which punish immigrants with disabilities for using services they need, are attacks on our American values. COVID-19 has presented new challenges as well. People with disabilities are disproportionately impacted by the virus. And we are working hard to ensure that social distancing measures don't create new barriers to preventing people with disabilities from fully participating in our society. 30 years after the ADA was signed into law, our commitment to this work is more important than ever. In Boston, we're doing this work. We're standing up for people in our communities. And we're getting creative to make sure that no one is denied the freedoms, the opportunities, and the dignity that they all deserve. I hope you will all tune in to our ADA virtual rally event on July 22nd. It's an opportunity to look back on how far we've come, to celebrate the amazing community we have right here in Boston, and to recognize the central role that people with disabilities play in our city and our society. I thank you for helping us recognize this milestone.
Hi, everyone. I'm your Attorney General, Maura Healey. As we commemorate the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, I know that many of us are struggling to celebrate. Over the past few months, we've had to face a pandemic and confront our history, which has routinely excluded, oppressed, demeaned, and criminalized those who are different or challenge the status quo. It's important to remember that disproportionate numbers of people with disabilities are people of color. Many with disabilities also endure lives of poverty. Here in Boston, we must keep striving for equity, diversity, and inclusion. In the face of tragedy that has overwhelmed those living in congregate care facilities, including our nursing homes, we have to double down on ensuring access to quality health and safety. We must also continue to support compliance with the ADA and equal access in employment, housing, transportation, public accommodation, and education. So today, let's celebrate the incredible progress that has been made, but know that there is a lot more work to do. My office will continue to do it with you together. Be well, stay safe, and thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker here. And I have to say, one of the things that happens as you get older is things that happened a really long time ago don't feel so long ago to you. 30 years ago, when I was in my 30s, this country enacted the Americans with Disabilities Act. And it was, in fact, a landmark piece of legislation, bipartisan, a very unusual word in today's national politics. And it was something that people created a platform out of to make it possible for people with disabilities to basically build a future and in many cases chase dreams and opportunities that simply weren't available to them before that. And I think one of the things we've tried to do here in the Commonwealth is to live the value and the intent of that legislation, and have worked very hard with many organizations, including the folks who are supporting this event today, to make sure that we do all we can to make sure people here in Massachusetts who have disabilities have opportunities, and that those opportunities can translate into sustainable and life-affirming opportunities for them. This is truly a very special day, but I have to say that the other part we should all remember is the journey of the past 30 years, and recognize and understand that this is a walk that's never done. We're all going to have to continue to work this one as we go forward to continue to make it possible for people to have the chance and the opportunity to be their very best self. And to all who are involved today, I just want to say congratulations, but obviously there is work that remains to be done. God bless.
Hello, everyone. Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley here. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to join you in virtual community today as we mark the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. and acknowledge the progress that has been made due to the vigilance of activists who quite literally laid their bodies on the line, and yet the work that remains to be done to affirm justice and liberty for every person living with a disability in our country. Now, as we finally begin to confront the effects of centuries of discrimination against Black and Brown people that persist today, we must also acknowledge the discrimination that people with disabilities face on a daily basis. Borrowing from a refrain on the front lines of the movement, we must continue to affirm that Black disabled lives matter too. From discrimination to employment to physical barriers to access, we still have work to do to finally affirm the mission of the ADA. We must ensure that our fight for freedom includes freedom for all, because none of us is free until all of us are free. In this moment of reckoning as a nation, we must declare boldly that our destinies and our freedoms are tied. If this moment has shown us nothing, it is the people are powerful, and there is little we cannot achieve when we raise our voices to demand action and work for change. I'll continue to raise mine loudly, and I know all of you will do the same. I'm so very proud to be your partner in our shared fight for freedom, equity, and justice for all. Thank you.
Today marks the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. This was a landmark piece of legislation that secured civil rights for all people in the United States with disabilities. Although we're proud of the fact that this legislation was passed, we have much more work to do. According to the 2010 census, 56 million Americans, nearly 1 in 5 of us, experienced a disability. We've seen with COVID-19 the disparate impact and the discrimination with respect to people with disabilities and access to care during this global pandemic. There are too many decisions being made about individuals with disabilities without their important voices being heard. One of the great sayings in the community is nothing about us without us. I am an ally and will be as loud as I can be from the background, helping and pushing individuals forward that have a lived experience to help educate us, to help train us, and we need a workforce that is inclusive of everyone, including those with disabilities, because as we know, the more inclusive and diverse our workforce is, the better we are.